Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It is November 12th, 2014, and here's a look at our top stories.
Tonight, as gun ownership in America increases, murders and other violent crimes drop to a 45-year low. Meanwhile, police killings register the highest in 2 decades. Plus, D.C. schools strip Christmas from the calendar after Muslims complain. And Rob Dew takes a look at the unseen forces behind the latest Nickelback CD.
I can't believe I'm doing a Nickelback video.
All that plus much more up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
We hear a lot about violence here in the United States of America, but it turns out that according to the FBI, we're at a 45-year low. The FBI reported that the number of murders and non-negligent homicides fell last year 4.4% to about 14,000, the lowest total since 1968. The murder rate has also been dropping and stands at 4.5 per 100,000 population. Firearms were used in 69% of the murders in 2013. But it's still my understanding that you're more likely to be stabbed, punched to death, or beat with a hammer than you are to be killed by a fully automatic firearm. But then begs the question, why are they trying to ban the fully automatic firearms? I guess they have nothing better to do. And we'll talk more about firearm deaths in 1 second. But for right now, let's go to FBI.gov and take a look at the chart. And we start in 2009, and you can see all the way down to 2013, there was a stark drop in violent offenses. But, you know, because we have a lot of 24-hour coverage, we have a lot of citizen journalists, we have a lot of social media, you hear more about things that would, 20 years ago be a local news story. And talking about the FBI, don't forget that they put down a zero sum for the murders in Sandy Hook. Could be a glitch, I'm just telling you that it happens to be there. Now let's talk more about these shootings and talking about specifically police. Police killings highest in 2 decades. The number of felony suspects fatally shot by police last year, 461. Was the most in 2 decades, according to a new FBI report. The justifiable homicide count contained in the FBI's annual Uniform Crime Report has become increasingly scrutinized in recent months as questions continue to be raised about the use of lethal force by law enforcement. And not just lethal force, but also the supposed non-lethal force, the tasers, the pepper spray, the sound cannons. We've seen repeatedly people being tased and having a cardiac arrest going into seizures, people who could not comply with the officer's wishes because before being tased, they had some type of health condition, and then so, they're having a seizure or whatever, then the officer tases them for non-compliance. Completely ridiculous. What if you pepper spray somebody with asthma? They could suffocate to death, but that hasn't stopped them from using the non-lethal alternatives. And there's also a graph that you can see on Infowars.com, the justifiable homicides involving the killing of a suspected felon by law enforcement officer in the line of duty. And while we see a lot of police shootings, there's also a lot of violence on our border. And now we see our Border Patrol agents being disarmed because of equipment malfunctions. Border Patrol agents say agency's gun recall puts them in danger. Nearly 1/3 of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection's 16,000 M4 carbine rifles were tested by the agency's Office of Training and Development, which determined that more than 2,000 had the potential to malfunction. But in the meantime, Border Patrol agents are dubious about the department's claims, given that the gun's manufacturer, Colt, has not issued a recall. And they said they don't want to pull their weapons, they don't want to have to share a weapon with a friend, they don't want to have to potentially go out unarmed. And you think about the Border Patrol, and people say, well, you don't want the police and the military and all these feds to have a monopoly of force. I don't want that. But also, when we look at the border situation, we see that the opposition of the Border Patrol, these cartels and these other insidious entities, are fully armed, and they got a lot of those weapons during Operation Fast and Furious. So we'll take guns away from the Border Patrol, and maybe they do have some equipment malfunction, but they need something to defend themselves in the interim. But meanwhile, we're shipping guns to Mexico with Operation Fast and Furious. It makes no sense. We'll arm these guys and then take away the weapons that they need, the Border Patrol needs to defend themselves. It's completely ridiculous, but that's what's happening on our border. But a little bit above the border, Texas. We see some potential good legislation coming through in the state of Texas. We see Texas lawmakers introduce bills for both open and constitutional carry. These bills, to include 2 addressing open carry and a 3rd for constitutional carry, are backed by Republican lawmakers in the wake of Governor-elect Greg Abbott's public announcement last week to sign such a measure should they make it to his desk in Austin. And it says these are entered into the early sessions to be looked at in about 2 months. If you guys have been paying attention to the news, you've seen in Texas a lot of open carry marches, people walking around with shotgun rifles, black powder pistols on their hips. None of those things are illegal to carry in the state of Texas, but you can't carry a pistol on your hip and you can't carry a pistol without a concealed carry permit. And these laws are looking to change that. And to all the people who are anti-open carry, they don't like these guys going to Starbucks or wherever else they may go. Would you feel more satisfied if these guys didn't have an AK-47, but they had, a 6-shooter on their hip? Would you be more confident with that, or they had a Glock or something that's not as ominous as a rifle? Of course, I have no issue with people carrying around pistols or shotguns or whatever else. They happened here in the city of Austin. They locked down a school for part of the day because a guy was transporting a shotgun from his apartment down to his car. And they're like, oh, what's this guy going to do? He's probably going out duck hunting, but everybody completely freaked out about it. And talking about the freaking out here in the city of Austin, let's talk about some freakouts in D.C. D.C. school strips Christmas from calendar after Muslims complain. In a 7-1 vote, Montgomery's Board of Education removed references to Christmas, Easter, and others from next year's school calendar, replacing them with ambiguous terms, such as winter break and student holidays. The decision was made after complaints by Muslim parents that the Islamic holiday of Eid wasn't being recognized. But here's the thing about this. They want to say it's discrimination, it's culturally insensitive. Okay, I'll hear out that argument, even though I'm a Christian and I'm very much pro keeping Christ in Christmas. But this is where it gets a little murky, because you don't want to recognize Christmas, but in the next line it reads, however, the school district's failure to allow students time off for Eid led to the Equality for Eid to accuse the educational authorities of fostering inequality, which is to say the Equality for Eid wants you to recognize their holiday, but not the Christian holiday. And whether you call it Christmas break or winter break, it's the end of semester break. Just like when you have summer break, you can name that after some holiday, but it's still summer break. It's the end of the semester, whether you call it something or not. It's just how the system rolls. Feminists demand censorship of Princess Leia catcalling parody video.
You truly belong here with us, mutton class.
This little one's not worth the effort. Come, let me get you something.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Allow me to introduce you to my aide, Lobot. Say something, man. Damn it.
And of course, that's a parody video of a video that was previously shot of the young lady walking down the street and being catcalled by multiple people. And the only thing about that video, I understood the point that she was trying to make. There are some guys who are definitely out of line, guys who are just walking around staring at a butt. That's completely uncalled for, unnecessary. But they kind of ruined their argument when they put in guys that just said, hey, how are you doing today? Or, you have a nice day. I'm like, is that supposed to be sexual harassment, just talking to somebody in a very benign way? I say, have a nice day to the person at the grocery store. That doesn't mean I'm sexually harassing them. And let's end tonight with this segment, the harassment of our laws here in the States, because they can grow the opium in Afghanistan, but if you get caught with it here in the States, then you're going to jail. We have Afghanistan opium harvest at record high as NATO withdraws. The United Nations Office of Drug and Crime said opium production was up by 17% since last year. And of course, a lot of the opium is still being grown in a southern province where British troops were stationed until October. So yeah, we've seen the footage, the guys on Geraldo, we don't like it, but we have to do it, or they'll get mad at us. It's completely ridiculous, because they'll grow it out there, they'll help grow it, help the farmers do whatever they got to do. But if you get caught with it here in the States, you're going to jail. And on that same note, let's talk about a little bit of different dope. We have a dope interview coming up with Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross. He's going to talk about his connection to the CIA and also what he thinks about the rapper Rick Ross. And then after that, we'll have a very special report by Rob Dew talking about the new Nickelback album and how it relates to tax-free foundations. And he has some special unseen footage of one of their marketing meetings. Stay tuned. This is the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Hi, I'm Dr. Group. Today, I'm proud and excited to announce a new product to the INFOWARS Life product line. Introducing the first proprietary oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, OxyPowder. Backed by real FDA-approved phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. People are suffering from all kinds of digestive issues these days. All the toxins from the air, the food, the water, everything that you're exposed to on a daily basis ultimately ends up in the gut or affects the gut. My main focus was to come up with a remedy for this, something that's safe and effective that anyone can take on a regular basis to keep their intestinal lining clean. You have over 30 feet of intestinal lining that can be compacted, that can be toxic, that can be full of parasites, fungus, bacteria. What are you doing to keep that clean and flushed out? My recommendation is to clean your intestines at least 2 to 3 times a week to prevent the toxic buildup from going into your bloodstream. You owe it to yourself to take your health into your own hands and start cleansing your body today with Oxy Powder. Secure your Oxy Powder today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.
The globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super Male Vitality by INFOWARS Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com. Rick, other points you want to make, and then I know you want to get into hip-hop, that you say is the new crack cocaine epidemic culture war machine. And then I've got some amazing testimony I can give you on that exact fact, backing up what you have to say. Tell folks what you told me off air.
Well, I believe that what they've done is they've taken hip-hop and they've made it glorious to be a drug dealer. You know, when I sold drugs, I hid. I didn't want anybody to know I sold drugs. But now they got these guys who've never sold drugs, technically. You know, one guy was a correctional officer who goes by the name of Rick Ross now. He took my whole identity, and the court said that he could do it, that he could prance around the country and say that he's me and take my whole life and use it, and there was nothing I could do about it. I can't stop him.
He even grew a beard just like you.
Everything. So now they take these guys, and these guys say, well, I got to the position that I'm in right now today by selling drugs. So the message that it tells our kids is that if you go out, you sell drugs, then you can become a great rock star like myself and never go to prison. And I think that that's a false message to be given people who feel hopeless.
And notice they don't indict the people that are fake and claim all that. No, they want them out there like a lanternfish has that light to get the little fish to swim over so they can eat them.
Exactly, and that's what I believe. I mean, if I were to go on tape and say, oh yeah, I sold 300 kilos of cocaine, and now you got me admitting that I did that, they would indict me for it. But the way they're doing it now, they're saying it's just art form. It's just a form of art, and I believe that it's sucking in our kids, and you know, you turn on the radio and it's just filled with it. And
what do you want to say to Rick Ross? Because he'll probably see this video.
Well,
the fake Rick Ross.
I would tell him that it's time to change, that it's time to tell the kids the truth, you know, and let them know that technically he's never sold drugs and that he didn't get his money from selling drugs, that Universal gave him the money to do the things that he's doing, that it's okay to admit that you never did that, and not let our kids believe that they can go out and sell drugs and never pay a penalty for doing that.
Does it make you angry to see him doing that?
Well, really, the whole culture. I mean, I'm disappointed in the whole culture. Really, not really him, because I don't think that he understands what he's doing. To him, I believe.